So here's kind of an interesting new topic to discuss about Narnia, the possibility of a Narnia film being shot in 3D. There's a rumor here, or more like speculation really, of a Voyage of the Dawn Treader being in 3D. Basically, we know that wants to ramp up their 3D efforts, and it seems seems pretty fair to speculate that Dawn Treader could be one of those films, like the Narnia Web article says it could. Seems like it would kind of lend itself pretty nicely to 3D. And this is something that has been discussed in the forum a little bit the past several months. A possibility. This is the first time we've seen anything on the front page basically suggesting this. But the general reaction obviously is extremely negative. I didn't really participate in any of the older discussions just because I guess there are more things that I'm worried about in Dawn Treader. There's so many more issues I'm a lot more worried about than if it's in 3D. But here it is, and the reaction seems incredibly negative. The first comment on the Narnia Web news story is actually no, and I cannot for the life of me understand why on earth. What is the big deal here? If you don't like 3D, go see it in 2D. Problem solved. What is the big deal here? Is it really going to ruin your viewing experience that much? Like when you're watching your 2D film and it's like, oh my gosh, in the next theater they're watching this in 3D. I can't believe this. This is terrible. This is an abomination against C.S. Lewis. What is the big deal? Just go see it in 2D. So I don't really see what all the fuss is about. I guess the concern for some people is that, I'm just trying to figure out how is this going to affect the film if you see it in 2D, and maybe the way the shots will be framed in some cases will be to sort of utilize 3D as much as possible. Like you'll frame it in such a way that maybe you wouldn't do it that way if you were just doing 2D. And there might be the occasional gimmick like, oh, let's have the water fly at the screen because it'll be like 3D, let's do this stuff. There might be some things like that. But overall, I don't think there's a huge need for concern. There's one concern I can kind of understand that I'll talk about later. As far as my experience with 3D, I've seen Beowulf in 3D, and I saw Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix in IMAX in 3D. The last 20 minutes were in 3D, and I thought both of those were really cool. Beowulf, especially, just these new 3D. I don't really know that much about 3D, but it used to be like the red and blue glasses, and now it's something completely different. It's just like these sunglasses they give you, and you don't see the red and blue lines around everything. It looks a lot more natural and believable. And I thought Beowulf, the film, really benefited. It just added to that sort of mythical feel. And so I think I can see Dawn Treader perhaps, benefiting from this. And maybe this is a stunt that they need to get the series back on its feet. Prince Caspian, the series kind of stumbled, and they need to. Dawn Treader, this is kind of make it or break it could possibly be make it or break it for the series if Dawn Treader doesn't do at least reasonably well. I don't think it has to be a blockbuster like Wardrobe, but it needs to do some really respectable box office to keep the series going. That's how I feel right now, at least. And so maybe this 3D thing might be a cool, different thing to kind of set it apart and get the series on its feet again. One concern that has been expressed over the past several months when we were kind of discussing this possibility before there was now there's an actual rumor or speculation on the front page, but long before this, when we were kind of talking about if this did happen, what we would think. The concern was voiced that I think just from a marketing perspective, I can understand where a C.S. Lewis fan looking at a poster and it says "The Voyage of the Dawn Treader" in 3D, I can kind of understand where that would just kind of make them cringe. So I guess from that perspective, I can understand the concern here. But as far as the movie itself, I'm really not concerned at all. The big question that I think, if this turns out to be the case, that I think Narnia fans will be debating right up until the movie's release, is what version do you see first? Unless the movie completely sucks, I'm going to see it multiple times. I saw Wardrobe 7 times. I saw Prince Caspian 5 times. So I'll see both versions, almost certainly. So the question becomes, which version do you see first? Your first viewing, the most important viewing. And right now, I reserve the right to change my mind on this after I've given it some more thought. I haven't really given it that much thought. But I would think that I would go see the 3D version first, just because I would think that if you're shooting a movie and you know it's going to be in 3D, you would shoot it with the assumption that the 3D movie is the real movie and the 2D movie is kind of the other version, basically. It'll be cool when the Blu-ray comes out and you can choose between the 3D, if this is true, between 2D or 3D. That'll be kind of fun, I think, to look at it both ways. And I've never seen a 3D Blu-ray yet, so that'd be neat. But so that'll be the dilemma that every Narnia fan's going to have to face if this turns out to be true. Which version do you see first? And right now, I'm thinking I'd probably go with 3D, and then a few days later, I'd come back and go see it again in 2D, and then I'd be able to write a review of which one I like better, and if 3D really adds something. And I don't know, I can really think it's just because of my experience with Beowulf, and I didn't think Beowulf was a great movie. I really didn't, but I can see. I do think the 3D kind of added a lot to it. Added a lot to that sort of fun mythical feel, and I can see Don Treader, really benefiting from this, and sort of also the huge variety of locations and characters and stuff. I can see it. I can see it a 3D being a benefit and making it a better movie and adding a lot to it possibly. But again, we don't know if any of this is true. It's basically just speculation now because we know Fox wants to make, looks like they really want to push the whole 3D thing, and Monsters and Aliens somehow managed to do well, and that's 3D. But again, you have the option. In fact, most of the time, the 2D version has a much wider release than the 3D version. At least as far as I'm aware. Maybe it's different now, but it's like the way it was for Beowulf is that you have it in 2D. Like at a theater, you've got almost all the screens are in 2D. Then there's like one or two that are in 3D. So I cannot, for the life of me, understand what is the big deal if it's in 3D. Just go see it in 2D. So I don't really get that. But I think this would be interesting. Yeah, I guess I can say wouldn't really bother me either way, but I guess it's safe to say that I hope it's in 3D. I think that would be cool. I think it could possibly add a lot to it. But either way, we have the option.